president wants it out, even though there are concerns that the work of tens of thousands of law enforcement and counterintelligence professionals may be smeared.
It's staggering to see how Republicans continue to put party over principle.
This is a tipping point for our democracy. Are we going to be a democracy after today, or is this going to be demagoguery and despotism?
Paul Ryan is now no longer on Team USA or on even Team Old Republican Party. He's on Team Nunes, which means he's on Team Trump, which means to some extent they're advancing in some sense the interests of Russia.
Ask questions and you're working for Putin. Well, there's particularly a meltdown over the release of the FBI memo by the hyenas in the press. Why is that? Why shouldn't we have been allowed to see it? What's wrong with a little transparency? Chris Hahn, a former aide to Senator Schumer and radio show host, joins us tonight. So, Chris, it's a super simple question. Why should I, as a taxpayer, a voter, an adult man, if Democrats had their way, I wouldn't have been allowed to see this. Why?
I think that the big problem with it wasn't just that they didn't want you to see the memo. They wanted
they didn't want me to see it. Why didn't they want me to see it?
Well, they wanted to have some balance. They wanted to see the source documents released so that people could make their own judgment. And they wanted their memo released as well. Look, I've been reading this memo all day, Tucker.
Wait, stop. They didn't want the source documents released. That's factually untrue. They could release them right now. For example, the testimony of Andrew McCabe before the Intel Committee is a source document. The request to the FISA court, those are source documents. Democrats don't want those released.
Of course they do.
Really? Then why haven't they? Come on now.
I've talked to you about this last week. These are the exact things I said last week about this document. Let's see all the documents. Let's see the source document.
Well, then we're in agreement there, and I think that we will. Yes. And I'll be interesting to see who stands in the way of that.
Right.
But up until today, Democrats have stood in the way of releasing this. Now, if you think that there is libelous material in here, factually inaccurate material that libels somebody, tell me. If you think it imperils American national security, tell me how.
Right.
But in the absence of those two factors, I have a right to see it. Why would Democrats stand in the way of that right?
You know what? I've been reading this all day, and it kind of reminds me of when Geraldo Rivera opened Al Capone's vault. There was a lot of hype, and then there was nothing in it. I don't know.
Well, then why would Democrats Then why would Democrats, if there's nothing in it, every Democrat in the House had a chance to read this, every single one.
Right.
Why would they, having read it, tell me that I'm not allowed to see it? I'm confused. You're making two arguments that contradict one another.
Let me tell you something. I'm watching this document now. I'm looking at this document now. They probably should have just said let it out because it proves nothing. It doesn't endanger the Russia probe. It actually shows that Papadopoulos was under surveillance for good reason. There's a lot of things in there that actually prove the case that a lot of Democrats have been making on the Hill.
Look, I'm not here to rebut the rationale for the Russia probe. That may be another show. But this memo doesn't speak to those things. You're right. I said it at the outset.
Right.
What it speaks to is the surveillance of an American citizen called Carter Page, who graduated from the Naval Academy and has in the years since shown no evidence at all that he's working for the Russian government.
That's not true. That's not true at all.
Okay,
Carter Page has been under surveillance by the FBI since 2013 when he was approached by the Russians, and he was told that he was being recruited by the Russians by the FBI.
You're missing this. Hold on.
Yeah.
There's no evidence. I'm not saying he wasn't surveilled. Indeed, he was surveilled. That's the point. There's no. In order to be surveilled, the Obama Justice Department had to make the case that he was a foreign agent. There's no evidence that he was a foreign agent. That is a slander against him. So where's the evidence that he was working for Russia, that he betrayed America?
Well, this memo isn't concerned about evidence. This memo is concerned about Devin Nunes. Since 2013, the FBI has been warning Carter Page about Russians trying to recruit him. He continued down the same path.
But that doesn't mean that so he's guilty? So it's a really simple question. Do you think that Carter Page has betrayed his country by working for a hostile foreign nation? That's the claim the Obama Justice Department made to a FISA court 4 times.
I don't know.
And I want to know, is it true or not?
I don't know if it's true or not, but when we see the underlying source document,
kind of a heavy charge to make against a man, don't you think?
When we see the source documents, we're going to find out what Carter Page was doing with the Russians and how that connected to the Trump
Well, why is he not
campaign.
in jail? Why does Carter Page stride a free man when he has betrayed his country? These are very heavy charges you guys are throwing around against someone who has not been indicted or convicted and against whom there is no publicly available evidence. And I don't understand why you continue to do that.
Why Carter Page is walking the street is a question that should keep a lot of Republicans up at night. Let's just leave it at that.
It's hard to believe you would say something like that on live television. Do you have evidence that he is working against America?
No, I have absolutely no evidence. But when a guy has been under surveillance by the FBI since 2013, and there were 4 FISA
Martin
renewals.
Luther King was under surveillance for more than a decade by the FBI. Does that mean he's guilty?
You cannot
what is
get
this?
a FISA renewal unless you show the judge you have evidence that the American citizen was involved with what you are claiming he was involved with.
But we know now, and it's indisputable, that at least part of that evidence, the lead of the FISA request, was the Trump dossier, which
that
the FBI
is not
itself...
what this memo even says. It does not say that.
It certainly does
and it surely
say that.
doesn't prove that. That's for sure.
Okay. I just want to restate one question to you.
Yeah.
Do you have evidence, any evidence, that Carter Page is guilty of the crimes you've charged him with on this show?
Absolutely
and the crime specifically,
not. I don't know if
then
he's
you probably shouldn't suggest he's guilty of betraying his country.
Well, I didn't say he was guilty. I think he might be talking to some people, and that's probably why he's still walking the streets.
Well, this is getting really heavy. Okay, thank you, Chris.
Thank
I appreciate it. Could even more documents be on the way? A renowned law professor explains whether today's release could set a new precedent for transparency, where you might have a tiny shot of understanding what your government is doing in your name. Stay tuned.